Well, if you feel like we just got done with an election season, you're correct, because we did have the municipal and consolidated elections a handful of weeks ago. And then before that, in November, you had the elections for, a whole host of things from Congress to, the State House. The State House, they have elections every 2 years. So coming up in November of 2024, you've got another round of elections for people who will represent you at the Illinois State House here in Springfield. And somebody making an announcement today joins us here on WMAY. I'm Greg Bishop, and we're joined now by Regan Deering, who has an announcement. Regan, thanks for taking time with us this morning and sharing with the audience what you plan on doing here. Let's hear it. What are you planning on doing?
Well, good morning, Greg. I appreciate joining you this morning and sharing my announcement with your listeners that I will be a candidate for the 88th House District coming up next March is our primary, and I'm excited to continue to be a common sense conservative that's fighting for families here in Central Illinois.
It's unbelievable to think that March is going to be the primary, because that is just, right around the corner. It's going to be here before we know it. But for people not familiar with what's the 88th district, tell us about the communities that encompass that district and who's the current incumbent in that district.
So, of course, we did have the maps redrawn in 2020, so I do feel like people still are learning not only their House districts, but their U.S. congressional districts as well, and that's important. The 88th, I'm in Decatur, which is sort of the southern edge, but it includes 4 counties: Macon County, Piatt County, DeWitt County, and McLean County, and is currently well represented by Dan Calkins. He committed to term limits when he was first elected, and he is honoring that pledge and not seeking re-election. So I am grateful for all the work that he has done as my state representative, and am excited that he is going to give me his support in running in this next election.
And not only is he giving you his support, you're going to be out essentially on the campaign trail starting today. You've got several stops, and he's planning on being with you at several of those.
Yes, knowing Dan and the work that he's done for his constituents, I'm honored that he is going to join us as we sort of kick it off in Decatur at 10 a.m. this morning in our Civic Center, having a press conference and talking to voters about how we can't sit back and wait another 2 years before we start putting up some candidates and talking about how we need to take back this state for families that are struggling with everyday issues. Obviously, we have inflation, we've got job issues, we've got crime in our communities, we have parents who are fighting for their children in public education. So today we're going to kick it off and let them know that I'm a conservative fighter that's willing to go to Springfield and work hard for them.
We're talking with Regan Deering. She is announcing this morning that she is a candidate for the Republican primary for the Illinois State House, a district that encompasses Decatur and that area right now. Dan Calkins is the state representative. He is not seeking another term, honoring a pledge to be term limited himself. There are not term limits right now imposed on state lawmakers, but Calkins making that pledge and following through with that and supporting Deering in this. Regan, of course, stranger to politics. Illinois is dominated by Democrats. They've got a supermajority in both the House and the Senate for Illinois. And how do you feel that Republicans can actually help in crafting sensible policies that are positive impacts on the state's taxpayers?
Well, you're absolutely right in that, those in Democratic control, majority in this state, are wreaking havoc on our lives. And those Republicans, we needed to just continue to show up. We can't quit and turn a blind eye to what's happening in the state legislature. Certainly coming out of this spring session, the hundreds of bills that are being currently signed by the governor don't feel appropriate for our families and, taking a look at what our actual concerns are. And so I think that Republicans have a responsibility to show up, talk to people about why we feel our platforms and our policy agendas are the right ones for success for all in Illinois. And we'll have to just work where we can. We may not be able to get every bill, but we can work back some of the bad legislation. We've got to shine a spotlight on what these bills actually mean. I think many of us have watched over this last year. We've done gut and replace bills that sound catchy in the name and title, and then they turn out being something totally different. So what I intend to encourage people in every part of this district to do is come alongside us and start paying attention and start reaching out to your legislators and talking to them about what their priorities are and holding them to account for going to Springfield and making those changes.
Regan Deering with us. She's announcing this morning that she is seeking the Republican nomination for the Illinois State House District 88. She's from Decatur and would like to represent that area. Of course, Regan will be watching this space closely. If there's any other candidates for the Republican primary or even a possible Democratic primary, we'll definitely be talking with them as well. But what do you say are your chief concerns for taxpayers heading into an election season? And what do you think needs to be amongst the first things tackled if you were to get into office?
Well, I'm running because I'm afraid for my children and their future. We've got the political elite that are sort of ramming this agenda in, a lot of radical ideas. And, people in our communities, they're paying some of the highest taxes in the nation. They're looking for an opportunity for quality education for their children. They want to have safe communities. So I think we need to start tackling legislation that is actually going to work for the people. And if we can try and continue to stop the bleeding on taxes, I've heard, coming out of summer break now that they're talking about returning the graduated income tax. Illinoisans are so tired of being taxed and, having those dollars spent inappropriately. So if we can try and reclaim some of those dollars, make sure that what we are spending is making a difference in the lives of everyday Illinoisans, that's going to be our first priority. And, when we think about policy in the State House, I'm a little bit terrified by the values that are being driven into some of these policy changes. We need to be able to recognize individual freedoms and hard work and personal responsibility. And, we have to take care of those less fortunate. And that's something that I've been instilling in my own children and something I've been doing and working throughout my life and in service to my community. So I think that if people can recognize that those are my priorities, I think they'll find that I'm the best person to send to Washington to fight for them.
And Regan, finally here, I'm going to talk with Ted Dabrowski from WirePoint's coming up, and he's got the latest census data that just continues to show Illinois' losing population, despite the governor denying that. How do we reverse that?
Well, if you've been paying attention, that WirePoint's article shouldn't be a shock. Unfortunately, that data comes right out of here in my backyard of Decatur. But all across Central Illinois and across the state, our public education is failing our students. And we've got to do a better job at making sure that we retain and recruit quality educators. We make sure that our classrooms are an appropriate size. We're making sure that all of our students are getting, the attention and the focus they need. And we just need to get back to teaching the basics. We've got so many things creeping into our curriculum, and we have families that just want, reading, writing, math, and arithmetic, and preparing our students for the future. So if we can concentrate on that again, I think that we will have a great opportunity for our families in public education, our families in private education, and supporting our homeschooling parents as well.
Regan Deering announcing she's running for the Illinois State House. Greatly appreciate your time this morning. I imagine we'll talk again in the near future. All right, be safe out there.
Thanks so much, Greg.
It is Springfield's Morning News on 92.7 WMAY. Springfield's news and